Listen to me. Your life is not changing because you're waiting. You're waiting for the right moment, the right people, the right opportunity. But champions, they don't wait. They create. You wake up negative, you live negative. You speak defeat, you get defeat. But when you decide I'm gonna win no matter what, everything changes. Stop saying I can't. Stop saying it's hard. Stop saying it's hard. Stop saying maybe tomorrow. You have to speak life into yourself because nobody's coming to save you. It's you vs you. And when you change your mindset, when you take responsibility, when you start seeing possibilities instead of problems, that's when your life shifts. I need you to want success as bad as you want to breathe. I'm talking about obsession, discipline, consistency. Every single day you wake up and say, I will win, I will grow, I will become better. Because positivity is not luck, it's a decision. And when you decide, nothing can stop you. Fire the idea of you versus you will sound simple at first, but it cuts deeper than almost any motivational concept because it removes every comfortable excuse you've been holding on to. Most people go through life believing that their biggest obstacles are other people, lack of money, bad luck, unfair systems, difficult circumstances. And while those things can absolutely make life harder, they're not the ultimate deciding factor in who you become. The real battle happens internally in the decisions you make when no one is watching, in the standards you hold yourself to, and in the habits you repeat daily. At the end of the day, the person you are competing with is not your neighbor, your coworker, or someone more successful than you. It is the version of yourself that chooses comfort over growth, excuses over responsibility, and fear over action. Every day you wake up with two versions of yourself. One version is disciplined, focused, and driven. This version wants to wake up early, put in the work, stay consistent, and push through discomfort. This version is tired, doubtful, and easily distracted. This version wants to stay in bed, procrastinate, scroll endlessly, and tell you that you'll start tomorrow. The outcome of your life depends on which version wins more often. That's the real competition. It's not about beating someone else. It's about defeating the weaker version of yourself again and again until the stronger version becomes your default. The problem is that most people don't even recognize this battle. They think failure is something that happens to them, not something they participate in. But if you pay attention, you'll notice that many of your biggest setbacks are tied choices you made. Choices to delay, to quit, to settle, or to avoid discomfort. That's not meant to discourage you. It's meant to empower you. Because if your choices help create your current situation, then different choices can create a better one. That's where the power lies. When you accept that it's you versus you, you take back control of your life. One of the hardest parts of this mindset is accountability. It's easy to blame others because it protects your ego. If something isn't your fault, then you don't have to change. But growth doesn't happen in comfort zones, and it definitely doesn't happen in denial. When you start holding yourself accountable, you begin to see things clearly. You notice the patterns that are holding you back. You see where you're wasting time, where you're lacking discipline, and where you're not giving your full effort. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Because once you see the truth, you can start doing something about it. This internal competition requires honesty. Not surface level honesty where you admit small flaws, but deep honesty where you confront the habits and mindsets that are quietly sabotaging your progress. Maybe you say you want success, but your actions don't align with that goal. Maybe you talk about discipline, but you only work hard when you feel motivated. Maybe you dream big, but you let fear dictate your decision. These contradictions are where the real battle exists. Closing the gap between what you say you want and what you actually do is what transforms your life. Another important aspect of you versus you is consistency. Winning this battle is not about one big moment of motivation. It's about small decisions repeated over time. It's choosing to do the right thing when it's inconvenient, when it's boring, and when no one is watching. Anyone can be motivated for a day or a week, but long-term success comes from discipline. Discipline is what carries you when motivation fades. And the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes until the disciplined version of you starts winning automatically. Fear plays a major role in this internal struggle. The weaker version of yourself thrives on fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of stepping outside your comfort zone. It uses those fears as reasons to stay where you are. It convinces you that it's safer not to try, not to risk, not to push yourself. But the stronger version of you understands that fear is part of growth. It doesn't disappear. You just learn to act despite it. Every time you choose action over fear, you weaken its hold on you. Over time, what once felt impossible starts to feel normal. Comparison is another trap that distracts you from the real competition. When you constantly compare yourself to others, you lose focus on your own progress. You start measuring your worth based on someone else's achievements, which can either inflate your ego or crush your confidence. Neither is helpful. The only comparison that truly matters is between who you were yesterday and who you are today. Are you improving? Are you learning? Are you getting closer to your goals? That's the metric that counts. When you focus on your own growth, you build a sense of purpose and direction that external comparisons can't provide. The concept of you value also emphasizes ownership. Ownership means taking responsibility not just for your actions, but for your mindset. Means choosing how you respond to challenges instead of reacting automatically. Life will always throw obstacles your way, but your response is what defines you. You can see challenges as excuses to quit or as opportunities to grow stronger. That choice belongs to you. And every time you choose growth, you reinforce the mindset that will carry you forward. Another layer to this battle is self-discipline in the face of comfort. Comfort is one of the biggest enemies of progress because it feels good in the moment, but keeps you stuck in the long run. The weaker version of you is drawn to comfort. It wants the easy path, the quick reward, the minimal effort. The stronger version understands that real progress often requires discomfort. It requires pushing beyond what feels easy, doing things that challenge you, and staying committed even when results aren't immediate. Learning to embrace discomfort is a game changer because it shifts your perspective. Instead of avoiding hard things, you start seeking them out because you know they lead to growth. Your habits are the battlefield where this internal competition plays out daily. Big goals are achieved through small, consistent action. There will be days when you feel like you're not improving, when your efforts don't seem to pay off. That's where patience comes in. Growth is not always visible in the short term, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. Every disciplined choice you make is building something beneath the surface. Over time, those small wins compound into significant results. The key is to trust the process and keep showing up. It's also important to understand that this battle never truly ends. There is no point where you completely eliminate the weaker version of yourself. It will always be there, waiting for moments of weakness, looking for opportunities to take control. But as you grow, you become better equipped to handle it. You recognize its patterns, you anticipate its excuses, and you develop strategies to overcome it. The goal is not perfection, it's progress. It's about winning more often than you lose and continuing to improve over time. Ultimately, you versus you is about self-mastery. It's about taking control of your thoughts, your actions, and your direction in life. It's about becoming the kind of person who does what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. When you embrace this mindset, you stop waiting for external facts to change and start focusing on what you can control. And that shift changes everything. Because when you consistently choose growth over comfort, discipline over excuses, and action over fear, you become unstoppable in your own right. Taking full responsibility for your life is one of the most uncomfortable decisions you can make, but it is also one of the most powerful. Most people move through life assigning blame to external factors because it feels easier. It protects the ego, it softens failure, and it gives a temporary sense of relief. If something goes wrong, it's the system, the environment, other people, bad luck, or timing. While those things can absolutely influence outcomes, relying on them as explanations keeps you stuck. The moment you make everything outside of you responsible for your situation, you give away your power to change it. Responsibility, in its rawest form, means ownership. It means saying, no matter what has happened, no matter where I am responsible for what I do next. That statement is not about denying reality or pretending life is always fair. It's about recognizing that your response to your circumstances is what ultimately shapes your future. Two people can face the same situation and end up in completely different places, not because their circumstances were different, but because their responses were. That difference is where responsibility lives. When you begin to take full responsibility, you start to notice how often you've been avoiding it. It shows up in small ways, procrastinating instead of acting, making excuses instead of adjusting, complaining instead of improving. These patterns are easy to ignore because they're common, but they quietly build a life you didn't intend to create. Responsibility forces you to confront those patterns. It makes you ask difficult questions. Why am I not where I want to be? What habits are holding me back? Where am I choosing comfort over growth? These questions are not easy, but they are necessary if you want to move forward. One of the biggest shifts that happens when you take responsibility is the way you interpret failure. Without responsibility, failure feels like something that happens to you. Something that happens to you. It feels unfair, frustrating, and sometimes even personal. But when you take ownership, failure becomes feedback. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? You start asking, what can I learn from this? That shift changes everything. It transforms failure from a stopping point into a stepping stone. It turns mistakes into lessons and setbacks into opportunities for growth. Responsibility also eliminates the illusion of waiting. Many people spend years waiting for the right moment, the right opportunity, or the right support system. They tell themselves that they'll start when things are better, when they have more resources, or when conditions are perfect. But perfect conditions rarely exist. Waiting becomes a habit, and that habit delays progress indefinitely. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting. You start where you are with what you have. You take action even when it's not ideal, because you understand that progress is built through movement, not perfection. Another important aspect of responsibility is self-awareness. You cannot take ownership of your life if you are not aware of your thoughts, behaviors, and patterns. Self-awareness allows you to see yourself clearly without distortion or denial. It helps you recognize when you're making excuses, when you're avoiding challenges, and when you're not giving your full effort. Developing this awareness takes time and honesty, but it's essential because once you see what's really happening, you can start making intentional changes. There is also a strong connection between responsibility and discipline. Taking responsibility means doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. It means following through on commitments, staying consistent, and holding yourself to a higher standard. Discipline is the tool that allows responsibility to translate into action. Without it, responsibility remains an idea rather than a practice. The more disciplined you become, the easier it is to take ownership of your life because you build trust in yourself. You know that you will do what you say you will do. Responsibility requires you to let go of the need for validation. When you rely on others to approve your choices or recognize your efforts, you place your sense of worth in their hands. This can lead to hesitation, self-doubt, and a lack of direction. Taking responsibility means trusting your own judgment and making decisions based on your values, not on external approval. It means being willing to stand alone if necessary, but to pursue your goals even if others don't understand them. This independence is not about isolation. It's about self-trust. Another layer of responsibility is emotional control. Your emotions are powerful, but they should not control your actions. It's natural to feel frustration, fear, or disappointment, but responsibility means choosing how you respond to those emotions. It means not allowing temporary feelings to dictate long-term decisions. For example, you may feel unmotivated, but responsibility pushes you to act anyway. You may feel afraid, but responsibility encourages you to move forward despite that fear. Over time, this ability to manage your emotions strengthens your resilience and your ability to handle challenges. Taking responsibility also changes the way you view your environment. Instead of seeing it as something that limits you, you start to see it as something you can influence. You may not be able to control everything around you, but you can control how you interact with it. You can choose who you spend time with, what information you consume, and how you structure your daily routine. These choices may seem small, but they have a significant impact on your direction. Responsibility means being intentional about your environment and aligning it with your goals. One of the most challenging aspects of responsibility is consistency. It's easy to take responsibility for a short period of time, especially when you're motivated or inspired. The real test is maintaining that mindset over the long term. There will be days when you're tired, distracted, or discouraged. There will be moments when it's tempting to fall back into old habits and excuses. Responsibility means showing up anyway. It means recommitting to your goals even when it's difficult. This consistency is what separates those who achieve lasting success from those who don't. Responsibility also involves setting standards for yourself. These standards define what you are willing to accept and what you are not. Without clear standards, it's easy to settle for less than you're capable of achieving. You may tolerate mediocrity, avoid challenges, or accept results that don't reflect your potential. When you take responsibility, you raise your standards. You decide that you will no longer accept excuses, that you will no longer settle for minimal effort, and that you will strive for continuous improvement. These standards become the foundation of your actions. Another important element is ownership of time. Time is one of the most valuable resources you have, yet it is often wasted without much thought. Responsibility means being aware of how you spend your time and making deliberate choices about it. It means prioritizing activities that move you closer to your goal and reducing those that don't. This doesn't mean eliminating rest or enjoyment, but it does mean being intentional. When you take ownership of your time, you create space for growth and progress. Responsibility also changes your relationship with challenges. Instead of avoiding them, you start to embrace them. Challenges become opportunities to test your abilities to learn and to grow. This doesn't mean you enjoy every difficult moment, but it means you understand their value. You recognize that growth often comes from discomfort and that avoiding challenges limits your potential. By facing challenges head on, you build confidence and resilience, which further strengthens your ability to take responsibility. Another aspect that often goes unnoticed is the impact of responsibility on your mindset. When you consistently take ownership of your life, you develop a sense of control and empowerment. You begin to see yourself as capable of creating change, rather than someone who is at the mercy of circumstances. This shift in mindset influences every area of your life. It affects how you approach goals, how you handle setbacks, and how you interact with others. It creates a foundation of confidence that is built on action and accountability. Responsibility is not about being perfect. It's about being committed to improvement. There will be times when you fall short, when you make mistakes, or when you don't meet your own standards. Taking responsibility means acknowledging those moments without making excuses and using them as opportunities to learn. It means getting back on track quickly and continuing to move forward. This ability to recover and adapt is what sustains long-term progress. It also requires humility. Taking responsibility means accepting that you don't have all the answers and that there's always room to grow. It means being open to feedback, willing to learn, and ready to adjust your approach when necessary. Humility allows you to see your limitations without being defined by them. It creates space for growth and improvement, which are essential for achieving your goal. As you continue to take responsibility for your life, you start to notice changes in how you think and act. You become more proactive, more disciplined, and more focused. You stop waiting for things to happen and start making them happen. You begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it builds over time through consistent effort and commitment. The power of responsibility lies in its simplicity. It doesn't require special resources, connections, or circumstances. It requires a decision to take ownership of your life and your actions. That decision, when backed by consistent effort, has the potential to change everything. It shifts your focus from what you cannot control to what you can. And in that shift, you find the ability to create the life you want, one decision at a time. Wanting something is easy to say, but the depth of that desire is what separates those who talk about success from those who actually achieve it. Most people say they want to be successful, to improve their life, to reach their goals, but their actions reveal a different story. They want it in a casual, comfortable way. They want it if it doesn't require too much sacrifice, too much discipline, or too much discomfort. But real success demands a level of desire that goes far beyond convenience. It requires a hunger that doesn't fade when things get difficult, a commitment that doesn't disappear when motivation runs out. When people hear the idea of wanting something as bad as you want to breathe, it might sound extreme, but it captures an important truth. Breathing is not optional. When you need air, you don't negotiate, you don't delay, you don't make excuses, you act immediately and with full intensity. That's the level of urgency and focus that transforms goals into reality. It's not about being dramatic, it's about understanding that half-hearted effort leads to half-formed results. When your desire is strong enough, it shapes your behavior automatically. You stop looking for shortcuts and start embracing the work required. A strong desire changes your priorities. When you truly want something, you begin to reorganize your life around it. You become more intentional with your time, your energy, and your attention. Things that once seemed important start to lose their significance if they don't align with your goal. Distractions become easier to eliminate because you have a clear sense of what matters. This doesn't happen because someone forces you to change. It happens because your internal drive is strong enough to guide your decision. The stronger your desire, the clearer your direction becomes. There is also a difference between interest and commitment. Interest is conditional. When you're interested in something, you engage with it when it's convenient, when you feel like it, or when it's easy. Commitment, on the other hand, is consistent. It shows up regardless of how you feel. It doesn't depend on perfect conditions or ideal circumstances. Wanting something badly moves you from interest to commitment. It shifts your mindset from I'll try to I will. That shift is crucial because it determines how you respond when challenges arise. Challenges are inevitable on any meaningful path. There will be obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt when your desire is weak. These challenges become stopping points. They feel like signs that you should quit or change direction. But when your desire is strong, challenges become part of the process. They don't discourage you, they test you. They push you to grow, to adapt, and to find solutions. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You start asking, how can I overcome this? That change in perspective is driven by the strength of your desire. Another important aspect of wanting something badly is the willingness to sacrifice. Every goal comes with a cost. It may require time, effort, comfort, or even certain relationships and habits. Many people say they want success, but they're not willing to pay the price that comes with it. They want the outcome without the process. But the process is where transformation happens. When you truly want something, you become willing to make sacrifices because you understand that they are investments, not losses. You give up what is easy now for what is meaningful later. This level of desire also builds resilience. When you are deeply committed to a goal, you develop the ability to keep going even when progress is slow or invisible. There will be times when your efforts don't produce immediate results, when it feels like you're not moving forward. In those moments, a weak desire fades, but a strong one persists. It reminds you why you started and keeps you focused on the bigger picture. Resilience is not about avoiding difficulty. It's about continuing despite it. And that persistence fueled by how much you want the outcome. Discipline plays a crucial role in sustaining this desire. While desire provides the initial spark, discipline keeps the fire burning. You won't always feel motivated, and there will be days when your energy is low or your confidence is shaken. Discipline ensures that you continue to take action regardless of those fluctuations. It turns your desire into consistent behavior, which is what ultimately leads to results. Over time, disciplined action reinforces your desire because you start to see progress, even if it's gradual. Clarity is another factor that strengthens your desire. It's difficult to want something deeply if you don't have a clear understanding of what it is and why it matters to you. When your goals are vague, your motivation tends to be weak and inconsistent. But when you have a clear vision, something specific and meaningful, your desire becomes more focused. You can visualize the outcome, understand its impact, and connect it to your values. This clarity makes it easier to stay committed because you know exactly what you're working toward. There is also a psychological shift that occurs when you want something badly. You begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. Your mind becomes more solution-oriented. Instead of being overwhelmed by problems, you start looking for ways to navigate them. This doesn't mean the problems disappear. It means your approach to them changes. You become more resourceful, more creative, and more determined to find a way forward. This mindset is a direct result of your desire because you are no longer willing to accept limitations as final. Another important element is self-belief. Wanting something badly is closely tied to believing that it is possible for you. If you don't believe you can achieve your goal, your desire will be undermined by doubt. Building self-belief takes time and experience. It grows through small wins, consistent effort, and overcoming challenges. The more you prove to yourself that you can make progress, the stronger your belief becomes. And as your belief grows, so does your willingness to push harder and aim higher. Your environment also plays a role in supporting or weakening your desire. The people you surround yourself with, the information you consume, and the habits you maintain all influence your mindset. If your environment is filled with negativity, distractions, or low standard, it becomes harder to sustain a strong desire. On the other hand, if you create an environment that supports growth, discipline, and positivity, your desire is reinforced. You are constantly reminded of your goals and encouraged to stay on track. Consistency is where desire proves itself. It's easy to feel passionate in the beginning when everything is new and exciting. The real test comes over time, when the initial excitement fades and the work becomes routine. This is where many people lose momentum because their desire was based on emotion rather than commitment. Wanting something badly means staying consistent even when it's no longer exciting. It means continuing to show up, to put in the effort, and to stay focused on your goal day after day. Another aspect to consider is patience. Strong desire does not mean rushing the process or expecting instant results. In fact, it often requires the opposite. An understanding that meaningful achievements take time. Patience allows you to stay committed without becoming discouraged by slow progress. It helps you maintain a long-term perspective and appreciate the journey rather than just the destination. This balance between urgency and patience is important because it keeps you moving forward without burning out. It's also worth recognizing that wanting something badly can bring discomfort. It can push you out of your comfort zone, challenge your limits, and force you to confront your weaknesses. This discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that you are growing. When your desire is strong, you learn to accept this discomfort as part of the process. You stop avoiding it and start using it as a tool for development. This shift in perspective allows you to handle challenges more effectively and continue progressing. Over time, this level of desire becomes part of your identity. It's no longer something you have to think about. It's something you embody. You become the kind of person who is driven, focused, and committed. Your actions align with your goals because they are an extension of who you are. This transformation is powerful because it makes your progress more sustainable. You are not relying on temporary motivation. You are operating from a place of consistent purpose. Wanting something badly is not about intensity alone. It's about direction, discipline, and persistence. It's about aligning your thoughts, actions, and habits with your goals in a way that creates steady progress. It's about refusing to settle for less than what you know you are capable of achieving. When your desire reaches that level, it becomes a driving force that influences every aspect of your life, pushing you to grow, to improve, and to keep moving forward regardless of the obstacles you encounter. Motivation is often celebrated as the driving force behind success, but in reality, it is unreliable, inconsistent, and temporary. It comes and goes depending on your mood, your environment, your energy levels, and even small daily experiences. Some days you feel unstoppable, ready to take on challenges and push your limits. Other days, even simple tasks feel overwhelming, and the drive you had yesterday seems to disappear. If your progress depends on motivation alone, it will always be unstable. This is why consistency matters far more than motivation. Consistency does not rely on how you feel. It relies on what you choose to do regardless of how you feel. The problem with motivation is that it creates a false sense of progress. When you feel motivated, you may take massive action for a short period of time. You might work intensely, set ambitious goals, and feel like you are moving forward quickly. But when that motivation fades, so does your effort. You slow down, you pause, and sometimes you stop completely. This cycle repeats itself, creating bursts of activity followed by periods of inactivity. Over time, this pattern leads to frustration because despite moments of effort, the overall progress is limited. Consistency, on the other hand, creates steady movement. It may not feel as exciting, but it builds momentum over time. Consistency is about showing up every day, even when the effort feels small or insignificant. It is about understanding that progress is not always visible in the short term. Many people quit because they do not see immediate results, but they fail to recognize that meaningful change often happens gradually. Each small action contributes to a larger outcome, even if it is not immediately noticeable. When you remain consistent, those small actions compound, leading to significant progress over time. This compounding effect is what makes consistency so powerful. Another important aspect of consistency is that it builds habits. Habits are automatic behaviors that require less mental effort over time. When you repeat an action consistently, it becomes part of your routine, something you do without having to rely on motivation. This is crucial because it reduces the need for constant decision-making. Instead of asking yourself whether you feel like doing something, you simply do it because it is part of your habit. This shift from decision-based action to habit-based action makes it easier to maintain progress. Discipline is closely tied to consistency. While consistency is the act of showing up repeatedly, discipline is the mindset that supports it. Discipline is what pushes you to act when you do not feel like it. It is what keeps you focused on your long-term goals rather than your short-term emotions. Developing discipline takes time and effort, but it becomes stronger with practice. Each time you choose to act despite a lack of motivation, you reinforce your discipline. Over time, this makes it easier to stay consistent because you have trained yourself to prioritize action over feelings. Consistency also requires clarity. It is difficult to remain consistent if you do not have a clear understanding of what you are working toward. When your goals are vague, your actions tend to be inconsistent because you lack direction. Clear goals provide a roadmap for your actions. They help you identify what needs to be done and allow you to measure your progress. This clarity makes it easier to stay consistent because you know exactly what you are aiming for and why it matters. Another challenge with consistency is dealing with setbacks. No matter how committed you are, there will be times when you miss a day, fall behind, or face unexpected obstacles. Many people use these moments as reasons to quit. They see a break in consistency as failure and assume that their progress is lost. However, consistency is not about perfection, it's about persistence. Missing one day does not erase your progress. What matters is how quickly you return to your routine. The ability to recover from setbacks and continue moving forward is a key part of consistency. Patience plays a significant role in maintaining consistency. In a world that often emphasizes quick results, it can be difficult to stay committed to a process that takes time. You may feel tempted to look for shortcuts or to abandon your efforts in favor of something that promises faster results. However, shortcuts often lead to temporary outcomes rather than lasting success. Consistency requires you to trust the process and to understand that meaningful achievements take time. This patience allows you to stay focused on your long-term goals rather than being distracted by short-term frustrations. Consistency also strengthens your confidence. Each time you follow through on your commitments, you build trust in yourself. You prove that you are capable of doing what you set out to do. This self-trust is important because it influences your mindset and your willingness to take on challenges. When you believe in your ability to stay consistent, you are more likely to set ambitious goals and to pursue them with determination. Confidence built through consistency is more stable than confidence based on temporary success because it is rooted in your actions rather than external outcomes. Your environment can either support or hinder your consistency if you are surrounded by distractions, negativity, or people who do not share your values. It becomes more difficult to stay on track. And on the other hand, an environment that supports your goals can make consistency easier. This includes not only physical surroundings, but also the information you consume and the people you interact with. Creating an environment that aligns with your goals reduces friction and makes it easier to maintain your routine. Another important element of consistency is focus. In a world filled with distractions, maintaining focus can be challenging. Social media, entertainment, and constant notification can pull your attention away from your goals. Consistency requires you to manage these distractions and to prioritize your time effectively. This does not mean eliminating all forms of relaxation or enjoyment, but it does mean being intentional about how you spend your time. By focusing on what truly matters, you increase your ability to stay consistent. Consistency also involves making choices that align with your goals, even when those choices are difficult. This might mean waking up early when you would rather sleep, working on your goals when you would rather relax, or making sacrifices in the short term for long-term benefits. These choices are not always easy, but they are necessary for progress. Over time, making these choices becomes easier as they become part of your routine. Another aspect to consider is the role of mindset in consistency. Your mindset influences how you approach challenges, setbacks, and progress. A growth mindset which focuses on learning and improvement supports consistency because it encourages you to view challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles. This perspective makes it easier to stay committed because you see value in the process, not just the outcome. On the other hand, a fixed mindset, which focuses on immediate success or failure, can make consistency more difficult because it leads to discouragement when results are not immediate. Tracking your progress can also support consistency. When you can see the results of your efforts, even in small ways, it reinforces your commitment. This does not mean obsessing over every detail, but rather having a way to measure your progress and to recognize your achievements. This can provide motivation and help you stay focused on your goals. It also allows you to identify areas where you may need to adjust your approach. Consistency is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about doing something regularly. It is about maintaining momentum, even when that momentum feels slow. Small, consistent actions are often more effective than large, inconsistent efforts. This is because they create a stable foundation for growth. Over time, these small actions build upon each other, leading to significant results. It is also important to recognize that consistency requires balance. While it is important to stay committed to your goals, it is also important to avoid burnout. Pushing yourself too hard without rest can lead to exhaustion and decreased performance. Consistency includes taking care of your physical and mental well-being. This ensures that you have the energy and focus needed to continue your efforts over the long term. Another key point is that consistency shapes your identity. The actions you repeat daily become part of who you are. If you consistently act in a disciplined and focused manner, you begin to see yourself as a disciplined and focused person. This identity reinforces your behavior, creating a positive cycle. You act consistently because it aligns with who you believe you are, and each consistent action strengthens that belief. Ultimately, consistency is about commitment to a process rather than reliance on temporary feelings. It is about understanding that progress is built through repeated effort over time. While motivation can provide a temporary boost, it is consistency that sustains long-term growth. By focusing on consistent action, you create a foundation for success that is stable, reliable, and capable of producing lasting results. Preparation is often underestimated because it happens in the background, away from recognition and immediate reward. People tend to focus on the moment of opportunity, the visible success, the breakthrough, the achievement, but rarely do they fully appreciate what makes those moments possible. The truth is, opportunity by itself is not enough. Without preparation, opportunity can pass by unnoticed or be wasted entirely. Preparation is what allows you to step into an opportunity with confidence, competence, and clarity. It is the foundation that supports performance when it matters most. Many people believe they will rise to the occasion when the time comes. But in reality, you don't rise to the level of your expectation. You fall to the level of your preparation. When you are unprepared, pressure exposes your weaknesses. It reveals the gaps in your knowledge, the lack of discipline, and the absence of practice. On the other hand, when you are prepared, pressure becomes an opportunity to perform at your best. You don't have to rely on luck or hope. You rely on the work you have already put in. Preparation requires a long-term mindset. It involves investing time and effort into something before you see any immediate results. This can be difficult because the human mind is naturally drawn to instant gratification. It wants quick wins and visible progress, but preparation often feels slow and repetitive. It involves practicing skills, studying information, refining techniques, and building habits over time. These actions may not produce immediate recognition, but they accumulate into something powerful. When the right moment arrives, all of that hidden effort becomes visible through your performance. One of the key elements of preparation is consistency. It is not something you do once or occasionally. It is something you commit to daily. Small, consistent efforts build a strong foundation. Each time you practice, learn, or improve, you are adding another layer to that foundation. Over time, these layers create a level of readiness that cannot be achieved through last-minute effort. Consistency ensures that you are always moving forward, even when progress feels slow. Preparation also involves developing discipline. It requires you to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. There will be days when you are tired, distracted, or unmotivated. On those days, preparation demands that you continue anyway. This discipline is what separates those who are ready from those who are not. It is easy to prepare when you feel inspired, but true preparation happens when you act despite a lack of motivation. Another important aspect of preparation is attention to detail. Excellence is often found in the small things, the details that others overlook. Preparing thoroughly means paying attention to those details, understanding the nuances of your craft, and refining your approach. This level of focus allows you to perform with precision and confidence. It reduces the likelihood of mistakes and increases your ability to handle complex situations. Attention to detail is what turns good performance into great performance. Preparation also builds confidence, not just a feeling. As a result of knowing that you have done the work. When you are prepared, you trust your abilities because you have practiced them repeatedly. You have faced challenges during your preparation and learned how to overcome them. This experience gives you a sense of control and assurance. On the other hand, when you are unprepared, confidence is fragile. It depends on external factors and can easily be shaken by uncertainty or pressure. Another critical element is adaptability. Preparation is not just about following a fixed plan. It is about being ready to adjust when circumstances change. Real-life situations are often unpredictable, and rigid thinking can limit your ability to respond effectively. Preparing yourself means developing a deep understanding of your skills and knowledge so that you can apply them in different ways. It means being flexible, thinking critically, and finding solutions in unexpected situations. This adaptability makes you more resilient and capable. Preparation also requires patience. It is a process that unfolds over time, often without immediate rewards. There may be periods where it feels like your efforts are not paying off, where progress is slow or invisible. During these times, patience is essential. It allows you to stay committed to the process without becoming discouraged. You trust that your efforts are building something valuable, even if you cannot see it yet. This patience keeps you moving forward when others might give up. Another aspect of preparation is learning from failure. Mistakes are inevitable, especially when you are pushing yourself to improve. Instead of avoiding failure, preparation involves embracing it as a learning opportunity. Each mistake provides valuable feedback. It shows you what needs to be improved, what strategies need to be adjusted, and where your weaknesses lie. By analyzing and learning from these experiences, you strengthen your preparation and increase your chances of success in the future. Preparation is also closely tied to self-awareness. Understanding your strengths and weaknesses allows you to prepare more effectively. If you know where you excel, you can build on those strengths. If you recognize your weaknesses, you can work to improve them. This awareness helps you focus your efforts in the right areas, making your preparation more efficient and impactful. It also prevents overconfidence, ensuring that you remain grounded and realistic about your abilities. Another important factor is time management. Preparation requires you to use your time wisely. involves prioritizing tasks that contribute to your growth and minimizing those that do not. Effective time management allows you to allocate sufficient time for practice, learning, and improvement. It also helps you avoid last-minute stress as you are consistently working toward your goals. By managing your time effectively, you create a structured approach to preparation that supports long-term success. Preparation also shapes your mindset. It encourages a focus on growth and improvement rather than immediate results. This mindset allows you to view challenges as opportunities to learn rather than obstacles to avoid. It fosters resilience, determination, and a willingness to push beyond your comfort zone. Over time, this mindset becomes part of who you are, influencing how you approach not just your goals, but all aspects of your life. Another key element is visualization. While preparation is primarily about action, mental preparation also plays a role. Visualizing success, imagining different scenarios, mentally rehearsing your actions can enhance your readiness. This practice helps you become familiar with potential situations and reduces anxiety when they occur. It allows you to approach opportunities with a sense of familiarity and control, even if they are new or challenging. Preparation also involves surrounding yourself with the right environment. The people you interact with, the resources you use, and the habits you develop all influence your level of preparation. Being in an environment that supports growth and learning makes it easier to stay committed. It provides encouragement, accountability, and access to valuable knowledge. On the other hand, a negative or distracting environment can hinder your progress and make preparation more difficult. Another important aspect is persistence. Preparation is not always exciting or enjoyable. It often involves repetitive tasks and gradual improvement. Persistence is what keeps you going through these phases. It ensures that you continue to put in the effort even when the process feels tedious. This persistence is what builds mastery over time. It transforms preparation from a temporary effort into a long-term commitment. Preparation also creates opportunities. While it may seem like opportunities are external, many of them are a result of being prepared. When you are ready, you are more likely to recognize opportunities and take advantage of them. You are also more likely to create opportunities for yourself because your skills and knowledge open doors. Preparation expands your possibilities, allowing you to pursue paths that might otherwise be unavailable. Another layer to preparation is accountability. Holding yourself accountable ensures that you stay committed to your preparation. It means setting standards, tracking your progress, and taking responsibility for your actions. Accountability keeps you focused and prevents complacency. It encourages you to maintain a high level of effort and to continuously seek improvement. Preparation is ultimately about readiness. It is about ensuring that when the moment arrives, you are not scrambling to catch up, but stepping forward with confidence and capability. It is about doing the work in advance so that you can perform at your best when it matters most. This readiness is not accidental. It is built through consistent effort, discipline, and commitment over time. The impact of preparation extends beyond specific opportunities. It influences your overall approach to life. It teaches you the value of effort, the importance of patience, and the power of consistency. It shapes your character, making you more disciplined, focused, and resilient. These qualities are not limited to one area. They affect everything you do. In the end, preparation is what bridges the gap between potential and performance. It turns what you are capable of into what you actually achieve. It ensures that when opportunity meets you, you are ready to meet it with everything you have developed. Without preparation, potential remains unrealized. Whether you create the conditions for success to happen, not by chance, but by design. Feelings are powerful, but they are not reliable guides for consistent action. They fluctuate constantly, shaped by mood, environment, energy levels, and even small, unrelated events. One moment you feel motivated, focused, and ready to take on challenges. The next, you feel tired, distracted, or unmotivated. If your actions depend entirely on how you feel in the moment, your progress will always be unstable. This is where discipline becomes essential. Discipline is the ability to act according to what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel about it. It creates stability where emotions create fluctuation. Many people misunderstand discipline as something harsh or restrictive, but in reality, it is a form of freedom. When you rely on feeling, you are controlled by them. Your productivity rises and falls with your mood, and your goals become secondary to your comfort. Discipline breaks that cycle. It allows you to take control of your action, which in turn gives you control over your results. Instead of being reactive, you become intentional. You decide what needs to be done, and you follow through even when it is inconvenient. The challenge is that feelings often push you toward comfort, not growth. When something feels difficult, uncomfortable, or unfamiliar, your natural response is to avoid it. This is not a flaw. It is a basic human tendency. However, growth almost always requires stepping into discomfort. Learning a new skill, building a habit, or pursuing a goal involves effort and uncertainty. If you allow your feelings to dictate your actions, you will consistently choose the easier path, which leads to stagnation. Discipline, on the other hand, encourages you to choose what is beneficial rather than what is immediately comfortable. One of the most important aspects of discipline is consistency. It is not about making one big effort. It's about making repeated efforts over time. Each time you act despite your feeling, you reinforce your discipline. Over time, this repetition builds a pattern. What once required significant effort begins to feel more natural. The action becomes part of your routine, reducing the influence of fluctuating emotion. This is how discipline transforms from a conscious effort into there's also a strong connection between discipline and identity. The actions you take repeatedly shape how you see yourself. When you consistently follow through on your commitment, you begin to view yourself as someone who is reliable, focused, and capable. This self-perception reinforces your behavior. You act in alignment with that identity because it feels natural. On the other hand, if you frequently give in to your feelings and avoid responsibility, you may start to see yourself as inconsistent or unreliable. Discipline helps you build an identity that supports your goals. Another important element is the ability to delay gratification. Feelings often seek immediate rewards, whether it is comfort, entertainment, or relief from effort. Discipline involves prioritizing long-term benefits over short-term satisfaction. This does not mean eliminating enjoyment, but it does mean making intentional choices about when and how you engage in it. For example, you might choose to complete important tasks before relaxing, or to invest time in learning rather than in passive activities. This ability to delay gratification is a key factor in achieving meaningful results. Discipline also requires clarity of purpose. It's much easier to act against your feelings when you have a clear understanding of why your actions matter. When your goals are meaningful and aligned with your values, they provide a source of motivation that goes beyond temporary emotions. This deeper sense of purpose helps you stay committed, even when you do not feel like it. It reminds you that your actions are part of something larger, something that extends beyond the present moment. Another challenge is managing negative emotion. Feelings such as fear, doubt, and frustration can be particularly strong obstacles. They can create hesitation, reduce confidence, and make tasks seem more difficult than they are. Discipline does not eliminate these emotions, but it changes your relationship with them. Instead of seeing them as signals to stop, you begin to see them as normal parts of the process. You learn to act alongside them rather than being controlled by them. This shift allows you to continue moving forward even in the presence of discomfort. Energy management also plays a role in discipline. While discipline is about acting regardless of feelings, it does not mean ignoring your physical and mental limits. Fatigue, stress, and burnout can affect your ability to perform. Being disciplined includes taking care of your well-being so that you can sustain your efforts over time. This involves maintaining a balance between work and rest, ensuring that you have the energy needed to stay consistent. True discipline is not about pushing yourself to exhaustion. It's about maintaining a sustainable level of effort. Another important factor is environment. Your surroundings can either support or challenge your discipline. An environment filled with distractions, temptations, or negative influences can make it more difficult to act against your feelings. On the other hand, an environment that is structured and aligned with your goals can make disciplined action easier. This might involve organizing your workspace, limiting distractions, or surrounding yourself with people who share similar values. By shaping your environment, you reduce the friction between your intentions and your actions. Discipline also involves setting boundaries. Feelings often lead you to overcommit, procrastinate, or engage in activities that do not align with your goals. Setting boundaries helps you protect your time and energy. It allows you to say no to distractions and yes to what truly matters. These boundaries are not limitations. They are tools that help you stay focused and consistent. They create a structure within which discipline can thrive. Another aspect is accountability. Holding yourself accountable means taking responsibility for your actions and their outcomes. It involves setting standards and measuring your progress. When you know that you are accountable, you are more likely to act in alignment with your goals, even when you do not feel like it. Accountability can be internal, through self-reflection and tracking, or external, through commitments to others. Both forms can support discipline by reinforcing the importance of consistent action. It is also important to recognize that discipline is a skill that can be developed. It's not something you either have or do not have. Like any skill, it improves with practice. Each time you choose to act despite your feelings, you strengthen your ability to do so again in the future. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes easier. This gradual improvement is what makes discipline sustainable. It is not about being perfect from the start. It is about making progress over time. Another key point is the role of routines. Routines provide structure, reducing the need for constant decision-making. When you have a set routine, you do not have to rely on feelings to determine your actions. You simply follow the plan you have established. This consistency makes it easier to maintain discipline, removes uncertainty. Routines create a sense of order and predictability, which supports long-term progress. Discipline also helps you manage setbacks. When things do not go as planned, feelings can lead to discouragement or frustration. It is easy to lose momentum when faced with challenges. Discipline, however, encourages you to stay focused and continue moving forward. It helps you view setbacks as temporary rather than permanent. This perspective allows you to recover more quickly and maintain your consistency. Another important aspect is self-talk. The way you speak to yourself influences your actions. Negative self-talk can reinforce feelings of doubt and reluctance, making it harder to act. Positive and constructive self-talk, on the other hand, can support discipline by reinforcing your commitment. Reminding yourself of your goals, your progress, and your ability to overcome challenges can help you act despite how you feel. Over time, discipline changes your relationship with effort. What once felt like a struggle begins to feel normal. You become accustomed to doing what needs to be done, regardless of your mood. This shift reduces resistance and makes it easier to stay consistent. Effort becomes part of your identity rather than something you have to force. It is also worth noting that discipline does not eliminate enjoyment. In fact, it can enhance it. When you are disciplined, you create a sense of accomplishment and progress. This satisfaction can be more fulfilling than temporary comfort. You begin to take pride in your actions and your ability to follow through. This sense of achievement reinforces your discipline and makes the process more rewarding. Ultimately, discipline over feelings is about aligning your actions with your goals rather than your emotions. It is about recognizing that feelings are temporary while the results of your actions are lasting. By choosing discipline, you create a stable foundation for progress. You reduce the impact of fluctuating emotions and increase your ability to achieve your goals. This approach requires effort, patience, and consistency, but the rewards are significant. It allows you to move forward even when motivation is low, to overcome challenges with resilience, and to build a life based on intentional action rather than reactive behavior. Over time, this commitment to discipline shapes not only your results, but also your character, making you more focused, reliable, and capable in every area of your life. Waiting is one of the most subtle ways people hold themselves back. It doesn't always look like fear or laziness. Sometimes it looks like patience, planning, or being realistic. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right time, the right opportunity, the right resources, or the right support. But in many cases, waiting is just hesitation dressed up as logic. The truth is, opportunities rarely arrive fully formed and perfectly timed. More often, they are incomplete, uncertain, and require action before they become clear. If you rely on external opportunities to appear before you act, you may spend a long time standing still. Creating your own opportunities begins with a shift in mindset. Instead of asking, when will I get a chance? You start asking, what can I do right now with what I have? This question moves your focus from external conditions to internal action. It puts you back in control. You may not have everything you want, perfect skills, perfect timing, or perfect circumstances, but you always have something you can use. Your current knowledge, your current network, your current environment. These are starting points, not limitations. When you begin to see them as tools instead of barriers, you open the door to possibilities that were always there but previously ignored. One of the biggest misconceptions about opportunity is that it is something you find. In reality, many opportunities are created through action. When you take initiative, you generate momentum. That momentum leads to new experiences, new connections, and new insights. Each of these can become an opportunity in itself. For example, starting a small project can lead to learning new skills. Those skills can lead to collaborations. Those collaborations can lead to larger opportunities. None of this would happen without the initial action. Opportunity is often the result of movement, not the starting point of it. Taking initiative requires courage because it involves stepping into uncertainty. There are no guarantees when you create your own path. You may not know if your efforts will succeed, if people will respond positively, or if your ideas will work. This uncertainty can be uncomfortable, but it is also where growth happens. When you act despite not having all the answers, you develop confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes next. You learn through experience rather than speculation. Over time, this builds a sense of self-reliance that makes it easier to continue creating opportunities. Another important aspect of creating opportunities is resourcefulness. Many people believe they cannot start because they lack certain resources, money, connections, or expertise. While these can be helpful, they are not always necessary at the beginning. Resourcefulness is about using what you have in creative ways. It's about finding alternatives, learning as you go, and making the most of your current situation. Some of the most successful paths begin with limited resources but strong determination. When you focus on what you can do instead of what you lack, you expand your possibilities. Consistency plays a major role in this process. Creating opportunities is not a one-time action. It is an ongoing effort. Each step you take builds on the previous one. There may not be immediate results, and progress may feel slow at times, but consistency ensures that you keep moving forward. And over time, your efforts accumulate. What once seemed like small actions begin to create significant outcomes. This steady progress is what turns initial efforts into meaningful opportunity. Networking is another key element. Opportunities often come through people, through conversations, collaborations, and shared ideas. When you actively engage with others, you increase your chances of encountering new possibilities. This doesn't mean waiting for someone to hand you an opportunity. It means building relationships, sharing your work, and being open to collaboration. The more you put yourself out there, the more connections you create. And each connection has the potential to lead to something new. Creating your own opportunities also involves a willingness to take risks. Risk does not mean reckless behavior. It means stepping outside your comfort zone and trying something new. There is always a possibility of failure, but there is also a possibility of success. If you avoid risk entirely, you limit your potential. By taking calculated risks, you expand your experiences and increase your chances of discovering opportunities that would otherwise remain hidden. Another important factor is adaptability. When you create your own opportunities, things will not always go according to plan. You may encounter unexpected challenges or realize that your initial approach is not working. Adaptability allows you to adjust your strategy without losing momentum. Instead of seeing obstacles as dead ends, you see them as signals to change direction. This flexibility keeps you moving forward and helps you find alternative paths when the original one is blocked. Mindset plays a crucial role in this process. If you believe that opportunities are scarce or reserved for a select few, you are less likely to take action. On the other hand, and if you believe that opportunities can be created, you are more likely to look for ways to make them happen. This mindset encourages initiative, creativity, and persistence. It shifts your perspective from limitation to possibility, which influences how you approach challenges and decisions. Another aspect to consider is skill development. The more skills you have, the more opportunities you can create. Skills increase your ability to contribute, solve problems, and add value. They make you more capable of turning ideas into reality. Investing time in learning and improving your abilities expands your potential. It allows you to approach situations with confidence and to take advantage of opportunities when they arise. Action is the central theme in creating opportunities. Ideas alone are not enough. Many people have ideas, but only a few act on them. Action turns ideas into reality. It allows you to test your assumptions, learn from experience, and refine your approach. Without action, ideas remain theoretical. With action, they become opportunities. Even imperfect action is valuable because it creates movement. It gives you feedback and helps you improve. Another important element is persistence. Creating opportunities is not always a smooth process. There may be setbacks, rejections, or moments of doubt. Persistence is what keeps you going through these challenges. It ensures that you continue to take action even when results are not immediate. Over time, persistence increases your chances of success because it keeps you in the game. Many opportunities are the result of sustained effort rather than quick wins. Self-belief is also essential. If you do not believe in your ability to create opportunities, you are less likely to take the necessary actions. Building self-belief involves recognizing your strengths, learning from your experiences, and trusting your ability to grow. It does not mean ignoring your weaknesses. It means believing that you can improve and adapt. This belief gives you the confidence to take initiative and to pursue your goal. Another factor is visibility. Now, opportunities are more likely to come your way when people are aware of what you do. Sharing your work, expressing your ideas, and engaging with others increases your visibility. This does not mean seeking attention for its own sake. It means making your efforts known. When people see your work and your commitment, they are more likely to connect with you, collaborate with you, or present opportunity. Creating opportunities also involves problem solving. Many opportunities arise from identifying and addressing problems. When you see a gap or a need, you can create value by finding a solution. This approach shifts your focus from waiting for opportunities to actively generating them. It encourages you to think critically and creatively about how you can contribute. By solving problems, you position yourself as someone who adds value, which naturally leads to more opportunities. Time management is another important aspect. Creating opportunities requires time and effort, and it is easy to become distracted by less important activities. Prioritizing your time ensures that you are focusing on actions that move you forward. This might involve setting aside dedicated time for your goals, minimizing distractions, and staying organized. Effective time management supports consistency and helps you maintain momentum. Another layer to this concept is ownership. When you take ownership of your life, you stop waiting for external factors to determine your path. You recognize that your actions play a significant role in shaping your future. This sense of ownership empowers you to take initiative and to create opportunities rather than waiting for them. Reinforces the idea that you are an active participant in your life, not a passive observer. Over time, creating your own opportunities becomes a habit. You start to naturally look for ways to take initiative, to solve problems, and to move forward. This proactive approach changes how you experience life. Instead of feeling limited by circumstances, you feel empowered to influence them. You become more confident in your ability to navigate challenges and to create meaningful outcomes. This approach does not eliminate uncertainty or difficulty, but it changes how you respond to them. You become more resilient, more adaptable, and more willing to take action. You stop seeing opportunities as rare events and start seeing them as something you can build through your efforts. This shift in perspective is what allows you to move forward consistently and to create a path that aligns with your goals. In the end, creating your own opportunities is about taking responsibility for your direction and acting on it. It is about recognizing that while you may not control every circumstance, you do control your action. By choosing to act, to learn, and to persist, you turn potential into reality. You move from waiting for change to making it happen, and in doing so, you open doors that might otherwise remain closed. Having a clear vision is one of the most powerful forces behind meaningful progress, yet it is often overlooked or misunderstood. Many people move through life with vague intentions, general desires, or loosely defined goals. They say they want success, happiness, or improvement, but they cannot clearly describe what those things look like for them. Without clarity, direction becomes uncertain and effort becomes scattered. A clear vision changes that. It gives your actions purpose, your decisions direction, and your efforts meaning. It acts as a guide that keeps you aligned, even when distractions and challenges arise. A vision is more than just a goal. A goal is often specific and measurable, something you aim to achieve within a certain time frame. A vision, on the other hand, is broader and more enduring. It represents the bigger picture of who you want to become and the kind of life you want to create. It connects your goals into a cohesive direction. When your vision is clear, your goals become stepping stones towards something larger. Without that vision, goals can feel isolated and disconnected, making it harder to stay committed over time. Clarity begins with self-awareness. To create a meaningful vision, you need to understand what truly matters to you. This involves reflecting on your values, your interests, your strengths, and your aspirations. It requires honesty because it is easy to adopt goals that are influenced by external expectations rather than internal desires. A clear vision is not based on what others think you should pursue. It is based on what resonates with you. This authenticity makes your vision more powerful because it aligns with your inner motivations. Once you have a sense of what matters to you, the next step is to define your vision in a way that is vivid and specific. It is not enough to say, I want to be successful. You need to understand what success looks like in your life. What are you doing? What kind of work are you engaged in? What does your daily routine look like? How do you feel? The more detailed your vision, the more real it becomes. This clarity allows you to visualize your future and to connect emotionally with it. That emotional connection is important because it fuels your motivation and commitment. Visualization is a powerful tool in this process. When you can clearly imagine your desired future, it becomes easier to align your actions with it. Visualization helps bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It allows you to mentally experience your goals before they are achieved, which can increase your confidence and focus. Focus. This does not mean ignoring reality or pretending that challenges do not exist. It means using your imagination to create a clear target that guides your efforts. A clear vision also simplifies decision-making. Every day you are faced with choices: how to spend your time, what opportunities to pursue, what habits to maintain. Without a clear vision, these decisions can feel overwhelming or arbitrary. You may be influenced by short-term desires or external pressures. When you have a vision, you can evaluate each decision based on whether it aligns with your long-term direction. This makes it easier to prioritize what matters and to say no to distractions. Your vision becomes a filter that helps you stay focused. Another important aspect of having a clear vision is resilience. Challenges and setbacks are inevitable, and they can easily derail you if you lack a strong sense of direction. When your vision is clear, it acts as an anchor during difficult times. It reminds you why you started and what you are working toward. This sense of purpose helps you push through obstacles and maintain your commitment. Instead of being discouraged by temporary setbacks, you see them as part of the journey. A clear vision also enhances your consistency. You know where you are going. It becomes easier to take consistent action. You are not relying solely on motivation or external factors. You are guided by a deeper sense of purpose. This consistency is what drives long-term progress. It allows you to build momentum and to make steady improvements over time. Without a clear vision, it is easy to lose focus or to switch directions frequently, which can slow down your progress. Another key element is alignment. Your actions, habits, and environment should support your vision. If there is a mismatch between what you want and what you do, progress becomes difficult. For example, if your vision involves growth and improvement, but your daily habits are unproductive, there is a disconnect. Aligning your actions with your vision requires intentional effort. It involves making choices that support your goals, even when they are not the easiest or most comfortable options. Over time, this alignment creates a sense of coherence and direction in your life. Having a clear vision also influences your mindset. It encourages a growth-oriented perspective. When you are focused on a meaningful future, you are more likely to embrace challenges, seek opportunities to learn, and remain open to new experiences. Your vision shifts your focus from immediate comfort to long-term development. It helps you see the bigger picture and to understand that growth often involves temporary discomfort. Another important factor is adaptability. While having a clear vision is essential, it is also important to remain flexible. Life is unpredictable and circumstances can change. Vision should provide direction, but it should not be so rigid that it prevents you from adjusting when necessary. Being adaptable allows you to refine your vision as you gain new experiences and insights. It ensures that your vision remains relevant and aligned with your evolving understanding of yourself and the world around you. Clarity also improves your ability to set effective goals. When you have a clear vision, you can break it down into smaller, actionable steps. These steps become your goals, each contributing to the larger picture. This structured approach makes your vision more achievable. It provides a roadmap that guides your actions, helps you track your progress. Without this breakdown, a vision can feel overwhelming or distant, making it harder to take action. Another aspect to consider is focus. In a world filled with distractions, maintaining focus can be challenging. A clear vision helps you stay centered. It gives you a reason to prioritize your time and energy. When you are clear about what you want, it becomes easier to avoid activities that do not contribute to your goals. This focus increases your efficiency and allows you to make better use of your resources. A clear vision also strengthens your sense of identity. It shapes how you see yourself and how you approach your action. When you have a defined direction, you begin to see yourself as someone who is purposeful and driven. This identity influences your behavior. You are more likely to act in ways that align with your vision because it becomes part of who you are. This connection between vision and identity creates a powerful cycle that reinforces your progress. Another important element is communication. When your vision is clear, you can articulate it to others. This can lead to support, collaboration, and opportunity. People are more likely to engage with you when they understand your direction and purpose. This does not mean relying on others to achieve your vision, but it does mean recognizing the value of shared understanding and cooperation. Clear communication can amplify your efforts and open new possibilities. Having a clear vision also helps you measure progress. When you know what you are aiming for, you can evaluate how far you have come and what adjustments are needed. This feedback is essential for continuous improvement. It allows you to refine your approach and to stay aligned with your goals. Without a clear vision, it is difficult to assess progress because there is no defined target. Another aspect is motivation. While motivation can be temporary, a clear vision provides a more stable source of drive. It connects your daily actions to a meaningful outcome. This connection makes your efforts feel purposeful. Even when motivation fluctuates, your vision remains as a reminder of what you are working toward. It provides a sense of direction that goes beyond temporary feelings. Clarity also reduces uncertainty. While it does not eliminate challenges, it provides a sense of direction that makes uncertainty more manageable. When you know where you are going, you can navigate obstacles with greater confidence. You may not have all the answers, but you have a guiding principle that helps you make decisions and take action. Another important factor is commitment. A clear vision strengthens your commitment because it is based on something meaningful to you. It is not just a temporary desire. It is a reflection of your values and aspiration. This deeper connection makes it easier to stay dedicated, even when the journey becomes difficult. Commitment is what sustains your efforts over time and ensures that you continue moving forward. Over time, your vision becomes a central part of your life. It influences your choices, your habits, and your mindset. It provides a sense of purpose that goes beyond immediate results. This purpose gives your actions meaning and direction. It transforms your efforts from isolated tasks into steps toward a larger goal. A clear vision does not guarantee success, but it significantly increases your chances of achieving meaningful outcomes. It provides structure, direction, and motivation. It helps you stay focused, make better decisions, and maintain consistency. It aligns your actions with your goals and creates a sense of purpose that drives long-term progress. By taking the time to define and refine your vision, you create a foundation for growth and achievement. You move from uncertainty to clarity, from scattered effort to focused action. This shift allows you to approach your goals with confidence and determination, knowing that each step you take is part of a larger, meaningful journey. Excuses are often subtle, persuasive, and deeply ingrained in everyday thinking. They rarely appear as obvious barriers. Instead, they disguise themselves as reasonable explanations, temporary justifications, or even protective thoughts. You might tell yourself that you're too tired, that the timing isn't right, that you don't have enough resources, or that you'll start when things are better. On the surface, these statements seem harmless, even logical, but over time, they create a pattern that holds you back. Each excuse delays action, weakens commitment, and reinforces a mindset that avoids responsibility. Eliminating excuses is not about ignoring reality. It's about recognizing when you are using explanations to avoid growth. One of the reasons excuses are so powerful is that they protect your comfort. Growth often requires effort, uncertainty, and discomfort. Excuses provide a way to avoid these challenges without feeling like you are giving up. They allow you to justify inaction while maintaining the illusion of intention. For example, saying I'll start tomorrow keeps the idea of progress alive without requiring immediate effort. However, this habit of postponement can become a cycle. Tomorrow turns into another tomorrow, and eventually the action you intended to take never happens. Another important aspect of excuses is that they shift responsibility. When you attribute your situation to external factors, you reduce your sense of control. It may feel easier in the moment, but it limits your ability to create change. If something is always someone else's fault or always due to circumstances beyond your control, then there is little you can do to improve your situation. Eliminating excuses means taking ownership of your actions and your outcomes. It means acknowledging that while you may not control everything, you do control how you respond. Excuses are often rooted in fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of uncertainty. All of these can lead to hesitation. Instead of confronting these fears directly, it is easier to create reasons to avoid action. For example, you might tell yourself that you need more preparation before starting, when in reality, you are afraid of not succeeding. Recognizing this connection between fear and excuses is important because it allows you to address the underlying issue. When you understand that an excuse is masking a fear, you can begin to work through it rather than avoiding it. Another factor is habit. Excuses can become automatic responses, something you do without conscious thought. If you have repeatedly used certain explanations to justify an action, they become part of your mindset. Breaking this pattern requires awareness. You need to pay attention to the thoughts that arise when you are faced with a challenge. When you catch yourself making an excuse, you can pause and question it. Is this a valid reason, or is it a way to avoid discomfort? This awareness is the first step toward change. Eliminating excuses also involves changing your language. The way you speak to yourself influences your actions. Phrases like I can't, I don't have time, or it's too hard can reinforce a sense of limitation. Reframing these statements can shift your perspective. Instead of saying I don't have time, you might say it's not a priority right now. This small change highlights that your choices are within your control. It removes the illusion of helplessness and encourages you to take responsibility for how you spend your time. Another important aspect is focusing on solutions rather than problems. Excuses tend to emphasize obstacles, what is missing, what is difficult, or what is not working. While it is important to acknowledge challenges, focusing solely on them can lead to inaction. Shifting your focus to solutions encourages you to think creatively and proactively. Instead of asking, why can't I do this? You ask, how can I make this happen? This change in mindset opens up possibilities and encourages action. Discipline plays a crucial role in eliminating excuses. Even when you recognize that an excuse is not valid, it can still be tempting to follow it because it offers comfort. Discipline allows you to act despite that temptation. It helps you follow through on your commitments even when it would be easier not to. Over time, disciplined action reduces the power of excuses because you build a habit of doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. Accountability is another key factor. When you hold yourself accountable, you are more likely to recognize and challenge your excuses. This can involve setting clear expectations, tracking your progress, and reflecting on your actions. It can also involve sharing your goals with others who can provide support and encouragement. Accountability creates a sense of responsibility that makes it harder to rely on excuses. Another element to consider is perspective. Sometimes excuses are based on a limited or distorted view of a situation. For example, you might believe that a task is too difficult or that you are not capable of achieving a goal. Expanding your perspective can help you see these situations more clearly. This might involve seeking information, learning from others, or breaking a task into smaller, more manageable steps. By gaining a better understanding of the situation, you can reduce the influence of excuses. Time management is closely linked to excuses. Many excuses are related to a perceived lack of time. While time is a finite resource, how you use it is largely within your control. Prioritizing your tasks and managing your schedule effectively can reduce the likelihood of using time as an excuse. This involves identifying what is truly important and allocating your time accordingly. It also involves minimizing distractions and focusing on activities that contribute to your goals. Another important aspect is self-belief. If you doubt your ability to succeed, you are more likely to create excuses to avoid trying. Building self-belief involves recognizing your strengths, learning from your experiences, and taking consistent action. Each small success reinforces your confidence and reduces the need for excuses. Over time, you begin to trust your ability to handle challenges, which makes it easier to take action. Eliminating excuses also requires a willingness to accept discomfort. Growth is rarely comfortable, and avoiding discomfort often leads to excuses. By accepting that discomfort is part of the process, you reduce its power over you. Instead of seeing it as something to avoid, you see it as a sign that you are pushing your limits and making progress. This shift in perspective makes it easier to take action even when it feels difficult. Another factor is clarity of goals. When your goals are vague or undefined, it is easier to make excuses because there is no clear direction. Clear goals provide a sense of purpose and urgency. They make it easier to recognize when you are avoiding action because the path forward is more defined. This clarity helps you stay focused and reduces the likelihood of relying on excuses. Consistency is also important. Eliminating excuses is not a one-time decision. It is an ongoing process. Each day you are faced with choices, and each choice is an opportunity to either act or make an excuse. By consistently choosing action, you build a pattern that reinforces positive behavior. Over time, this pattern becomes a habit, making it easier to continue. Another aspect to consider is the impact of your environment. The people you interact with and the culture you are part of can influence your mindset. If you are surrounded by individuals who frequently make excuses, it can normalize that behavior. On the other hand, being around people who take responsibility and focus on solutions can encourage you to do the same. Creating an environment that supports growth can help you eliminate excuses more effectively. Reflection is a valuable tool in this process. Taking time to review your actions and identify where excuses may have influenced your behavior can provide insights. This reflection allows you to learn from your experiences and to make adjustments. It helps you become more aware of patterns and to develop strategies for overcoming them. Another important point is that eliminating excuses does not mean ignoring legitimate challenges. There are real obstacles that can affect your ability to act, such as health issues, financial constraints, or external responsibilities. The key difference is how you respond to these challenges. Instead of using them as reasons to stop, you look for ways to work around them or to adapt your approach. This proactive mindset allows you to continue making progress despite difficulties. Over time, eliminating excuses changes your mindset and your behavior. You become more proactive, more disciplined, and more focused. You start to see challenges as opportunities rather than barriers. This shift in perspective influences how you approach your goals and how you handle setbacks. Another important element is resilience. When you stop relying on excuses, you develop the ability to persist through challenges. You become more comfortable with effort and uncertainty. This resilience allows you to maintain your progress even when things are difficult. Ultimately, eliminating excuses is about taking control of your actions and your mindset. It's about recognizing when you are avoiding responsibility and choosing to act instead. This does not happen overnight, but with consistent effort and awareness, it becomes a natural part of how you approach your goals. By removing excuses, you create space for action, growth, and progress. You shift from a mindset of limitation to one of possibility. You begin to see that while you may not control every circumstance, you have the ability to influence your direction through your choices. This realization is empowering because it puts you in control of your path. Each time you choose action over an excuse, you reinforce this mindset. You build confidence, discipline, and resilience. Over time, these qualities become part of who you are, shaping your approach to challenges and opportunities alike. This transformation allows you to move forward with clarity and purpose, free from the patterns that once held you back. A positive mindset is often misunderstood as simply thinking happy thoughts or ignoring difficulties. But in reality, it is much deeper, more practical, and far more powerful. It is not about denying problems or pretending life is always easy. Instead, it is about the way you interpret your experience, the way you respond to challenges, and the way you direct your thoughts toward growth rather than limitation. Your mindset shapes how you see the world, and how you see the world shapes what you do with it. Over time, what you consistently think becomes what you consistently believe, and what you believe strongly influences what you become. Now, every action you take begins with a thought. Before you speak, decide, or act, there is a mental process happening in the background. If your thoughts are negative, limiting, or defeat-driven, they create hesitation and self-doubt. If your thoughts are constructive, solution-oriented, and growth-focused, they create confidence and momentum. This is why mindset is not just a passive condition, but an active force that influences behavior. A positive mindset is not about ignoring reality. It is about choosing interpretations that empower you rather than weaken you. One of the most important aspects of a positive mindset is perspective. Two people can experience the same situation and interpret it completely differently. One person might see failure as proof that they are not capable, while another sees it as feedback that helps them improve. The event itself does not change, but the meaning assigned to it does. This difference in perspective determines whether a situation becomes a stopping point or a stepping stone. A positive mindset allows you to shift perspective in a way that keeps you moving forward. Another key element is emotional resilience. Life is unpredictable, and setbacks are inevitable. A positive mindset does not mean you never feel disappointment, frustration, or doubt. It means you do not let those emotions control your actions. Instead of being overwhelmed by temporary feelings, you learn to observe them, understand them, and continue acting despite them. This ability to separate emotion from action is essential for long-term growth. It allows you to remain steady even when circumstances are unstable. A positive mindset also influences how you handle challenges. Challenges are unavoidable, but your response to them determines their impact. With a negative mindset, challenges feel like obstacles that block progress. With a positive mindset, they become opportunities to learn, adapt, and grow stronger. This does not mean challenges become easy, but it changes your willingness to face them. Instead of avoiding difficulty, you begin to engage with it, knowing that each challenge contributes to your development. Another important aspect is self-talk. The way you speak to yourself internally has a significant effect on your mindset. If your internal dialogue is critical, discouraging, or harsh, it reinforces self-doubt and limits your potential. If your self-talk is supportive, constructive, and encouraging, it builds confidence and motivation. Positive mindset involves becoming aware of this internal dialogue and actively shaping it in a way that supports your growth. This does not mean ignoring mistakes or weaknesses, but rather addressing them in a way that encourages improvement instead of discouragement. A positive mindset also plays a crucial role in building confidence. Confidence is not something you are born with. It is something you develop through experience and belief. When you approach situations with a positive mindset, you are more likely to take action, even when you are uncertain. Each successful action, no matter how small, reinforces your belief in yourself. Over time, this builds genuine confidence based on experience rather than assumption. On the other hand, a negative mindset often leads to hesitation, which prevents you from gaining the experiences needed to build confidence. Another important element is adaptability. A positive mindset allows you to adjust when things do not go as planned. Instead of becoming discouraged when faced with unexpected changes, you look for alternative solutions. This flexibility is essential in any area of life because conditions are rarely stable or predictable. Adaptability ensures that setbacks do not stop your progress, but instead redirect it. It helps you remain open to new approaches and possibility, even when your original plan does not work. A positive mindset also enhances problem-solving ability. When you focus on problems from a negative perspective, your attention is often directed toward what is wrong or what is missing. This can lead to frustration and inaction. A positive mindset shifts that focus toward solutions. Instead of asking why something is difficult, you begin asking how it can be improved. This shift in thinking encourages creativity, resourcefulness, and action. It transforms obstacles into puzzles that can be solved rather than barriers that stop progress. Another key aspect is motivation. While motivation can fluctuate, a positive mindset helps sustain it over time. When you believe that progress is possible, you are more likely to stay committed, even when results are not immediate. This belief creates persistence, which is essential for achieving long-term goals. A negative mindset, on the other hand, often leads to discouragement when progress is slow, causing people to quit prematurely. A positive mindset keeps you engaged in the process, even when the outcome is not yet visible. A positive mindset also influences how you perceive effort. In a negative mindset, effort is often associated with difficulty or struggle. It feels like something to avoid unless absolutely necessary. In a positive mindset, effort is seen as a necessary part of growth. It becomes something meaningful rather than burdensome. This shift in perception makes it easier to engage in consistent action because effort is no longer something to resist, but something to embrace. Another important factor is how a positive mindset affects relationships. The way you think about yourself and others influences how you interact with people. A positive mindset encourages openness, empathy, and cooperation. It allows you to see potential in others rather than focusing on their flaws. This improves communication and strengthens connections. It also makes it easier to receive feedback, as you are more likely to view it as helpful rather than critical. A positive mindset also plays a role in decision-making. When your thinking is clear and constructive, you are better able to evaluate options and make choices that align with your goals. A negative mindset can cloud judgment, leading to decisions based on fear or doubt. A positive mindset, however, encourages clarity and confidence, allowing you to make decisions based on long-term value rather than short-term emotion. Another important aspect is resilience in the face of failure. Failure is an unavoidable part of growth, but how you interpret it makes a significant difference. A negative mindset often sees failure as final or defining. A positive mindset sees it as temporary and informative. It provides feedback that can be used to improve future efforts. This perspective reduces fear of failure and encourages experimentation, which is essential for progress. A positive mindset also helps you maintain focus. In a world full of distractions, it is easy to lose sight of your goals. A constructive way of thinking helps you stay aligned with your priorities. It reminds you of what is important and encourages you to stay committed to your path. This focus reduces the influence of distractions and increases productivity over time. Another key element is gratitude. A positive mindset often includes an awareness of what is already going well in your life. This does not mean ignoring problems, but rather balancing them with recognition of progress and support. Gratitude shifts attention away from scarcity and toward appreciation. This can improve emotional well-being and create a more stable mental environment for growth. A positive mindset also supports long-term vision. When you believe that improvement is possible, you are more willing to invest time and effort into your future. You are less focused on immediate gratification and more focused on lasting results. This perspective encourages patience and consistency, both of which are essential for achieving meaningful goals. Another important aspect is influence. Your mindset affects not only your own actions, but also the people around you. A positive mindset can inspire others, create a more supportive environment, and encourage collective growth. Conversely, a negative mindset can spread doubt and discouragement. Being aware of this influence adds another layer of responsibility to how you think and act. Over time, a positive mindset becomes a habit. It is not something you switch on occasionally, but something you develop through consistent practice. Each time you choose constructive thinking over negative interpretation, you reinforce this habit. Eventually, it becomes your default way of thinking, shaping how you approach life in general. This mindset does not eliminate challenges or guarantee success, but it significantly improves your ability to handle both. It creates a mental environment where growth is possible, effort is meaningful, and setbacks are manageable. It shifts your focus from limitation to possibility, from fear to action, and from doubt to belief. In the end, a positive mindset is about choosing how you engage with your thoughts and experiences. It's about directing your attention toward what helps you grow rather than what holds you back. It influences your emotions, your decisions, your actions, and ultimately your results. By consistently developing and maintaining this way of thinking, you create a foundation that supports progress in every area of your life. A mindset of ownership and personal control over your life is one of the most important foundations for lasting change, because it shifts your focus from reacting to circumstances to actively shaping them. Most people go through life believing that external forces are primarily responsible for their outcomes. They point to timing, environment, other people, or luck. Luck is the main reasons for success or failure. While these factors do exist and can influence results, they are not the defining element of a person's direction in life. What truly determines progress is how you respond to what happens to you, not just what happens itself. When you adopt a mindset of ownership, you begin to see your life as something you are actively participating in rather than something that is happening to you. This shift is subtle but powerful. Instead of asking why is this happening to me? You start asking, what can I do about this? That single change in questioning transforms your relationship with challenges. It moves you from a passive position into an active one. You stop waiting for conditions to improve before you act, and instead focus on what actions are available to you right now within your current situation. One of the most important realizations that comes with ownership is that you always have some degree of control, even if it feels limited. You may not control your environment, your past, or the actions of others, but you do control your thoughts, your decision, your effort, and your response to situations. These internal factors are where real power lies. When you begin to focus on them, you stop feeling helpless and start recognizing your ability to influence outcomes through consistent action. Taking ownership also means accepting responsibility for your current situation without falling into blame or denial. This does not mean that everything in your life is your fault, but it does mean that your future is your responsibility. Blame focuses on the past and keeps you mentally tied to things you cannot change. Ownership focuses on the present and future, where change is still possible. When you stop blaming circumstances or others, you reclaim energy that can be used for improvement instead of frustration. Another key aspect of ownership is self-awareness. You cannot take responsibility for your life if you are not aware of how your thoughts and actions contribute to your results. Self-awareness involves observing your patterns honestly. It means recognizing where you are consistent and where you are not, where you are disciplined and where you make excuses, where you are productive and where you waste time. This level of honesty can be uncomfortable, but it is necessary for growth. Without awareness, change becomes guesswork rather than intentional progress. Ownership also requires honesty about your role in both success and failure. When something goes well, it is easy to attribute it to external factors or luck. When something goes wrong, it is easy to blame outside circumstances. But true ownership means recognizing your contribution in both cases. This balanced perspective helps you understand what you are doing effectively and what needs to improve. It prevents you from becoming overly dependent on external validation or overly discouraged by setbacks. A major part of this mindset is decision-making. Every decision you make, no matter how small, contributes to your overall direction. Choosing how to spend your time, how to respond to challenges, and what habits to maintain all shape your outcomes. When you adopt ownership, you become more intentional with these decisions. You begin to consider long-term consequences instead of only short-term comfort. This shift in thinking leads to more consistent and meaningful progress. Another important element is accountability. Holding yourself accountable means refusing to ignore your responsibilities or justify inaction. It involves setting standards for yourself and evaluating whether you are meeting them. This process keeps you aligned with your goals. Without accountability, it becomes easy to drift, to delay, and to settle for less than what you are capable of achieving. With accountability, you maintain focus and direction even when motivation fluctuates. Ownership also changes the way you view obstacles. Instead of seeing obstacles as reasons to stop, you begin to see them as problems to solve. This problem-solving mindset is crucial for growth. Encourages creativity, persistence, and adaptability. When faced with difficulty, you do not immediately assume that something is impossible. Instead, you look for ways to work through it. This approach increases your ability to navigate challenges and reduces the likelihood of giving up too soon. Another important aspect is emotional responsibility. Your emotions are influenced by external events, but your response to those emotions is within your control. A mindset of ownership means recognizing that while you may feel frustrated, disappointed, or uncertain, you do not have to act based on those feelings. Instead, you choose actions that align with your goals. This ability to separate emotion from behavior is essential for long-term success because emotions are temporary, but their consequences can be lasting. Ownership also involves discipline. When you take responsibility for your life, you understand that consistency is more important than occasional effort. Discipline ensures that you continue to take action even when conditions are not ideal. It helps you stay committed to your goals regardless of how you feel in the moment. Over time, this consistency builds momentum, making it easier to maintain progress. Another key element is mindset toward failure. In an ownership mindset, failure is not something to avoid at all costs or something that defines your worth. Instead, it is viewed as feedback. Each failure provides information about what does not work, allowing you to adjust your approach. This perspective reduces fear and encourages experimentation. It allows you to take risks and learn from experience rather than avoiding action due to fear of making mistakes. Ownership also influences how you deal with time. Time becomes something you actively manage rather than something that slips away unnoticed. You begin to see how your daily choices accumulate into long-term results. This awareness encourages more intentional use of time. Instead of spending it reactively, you begin to allocate it purposefully toward activity that support your goals. Another important aspect is personal growth. When you take ownership of your life, you recognize that improvement is your responsibility. You do not wait for external circumstances to change before you develop new skills or habits. Instead, you actively seek opportunities to learn and grow. This continuous development increases your ability to handle challenges and create opportunities for yourself. Ownership also affects how you handle setbacks. Instead of viewing setbacks as permanent failures, you see them as temporary obstacles. This perspective allows you to recover more quickly and continue moving forward. You do not define yourself by a single event, but by your overall direction and persistence. This resilience is a key factor in long-term success. Another important element is independence. Taking ownership reduces dependence on external validation or approval. You begin to trust your own judgment and ability to make decisions. This independence gives you more freedom to pursue your goals without being overly influenced by the opinions of others. It strengthens your confidence and allows you to stay true to your path. A mindset of ownership also improves problem awareness. Instead of avoiding problems or hoping they disappear, you become more proactive in identifying and addressing them. This awareness allows you to take action before issues become larger obstacles. It helps you stay ahead of challenges rather than constantly reacting to them. Another important factor is consistency and effort. Ownership reinforces the idea that progress is built through repeated action over time. You understand that results are not immediate and that sustained effort is necessary. This understanding helps you stay committed even when progress feels slow or invisible. Ownership also encourages self-improvement. Instead of focusing on external comparisons, you focus on your own progress. You measure yourself against your past actions rather than others. This internal comparison is more productive because it highlights growth and areas for improvement without creating unnecessary pressure or distraction. Another key aspect is resilience and uncertainty. Life is unpredictable, and not everything will go according to plan. A mindset of ownership helps you stay steady during uncertain times because you focus on what you can control. Instead of becoming overwhelmed, you concentrate on taking the next step forward. Over time, this mindset becomes part of your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who takes responsibility, who acts with intention, and who does not rely on excuses or external validation. This identity reinforces your behavior, making it more natural to act in alignment with your goals. Ultimately, ownership is about recognizing your role in shaping your life. It does not mean controlling everything, but it does mean controlling what you can. It shifts your focus from external dependency to internal capability. It encourages action, accountability, and growth. And as you continue to practice it, you begin to experience a greater sense of control, direction, and purpose in everything you do. Self-discipline in the face of comfort is one of the most decisive factors in whether a person grows or remains stuck. Because comfort is not just a physical state, but a psychological trap that quietly shapes behavior. Comfort feels safe, familiar, and easy. And because of that, it becomes the default setting for most people unless they consciously challenge it. The problem is not comfort itself, but the tendency to prioritize it over growth. Growth almost always requires discomfort, doing things you are not fully ready for, facing situations that stretch your abilities, and continuing when it would be easier to stop. Without discipline, comfort wins by default. At its core, comfort is attractive because it reduces immediate effort. The mind is wired to conserve energy and avoid pain, so anything that requires struggle is often resisted instinctively. This is why procrastination feels so natural. When you delay a task, you are not eliminating it. You are simply choosing temporary comfort over long-term benefit. That short-term relief comes at a cost because the task does not disappear. It accumulates pressure, stress, and mental weight. Over time, this creates a cycle where avoidance leads to more discomfort than the action itself would have caused. Self-discipline interrupts this cycle. It is the ability to act even when comfort is pulling you in the opposite direction. This does not mean ignoring rest or pushing yourself to exhaustion. It means making conscious decisions based on long-term goals rather than short-term feeling. Discipline asks a simple but powerful question. What is more important right now? My comfort or my progress? Answering this honestly often reveals the gap between intention and action. One of the biggest challenges with comfort is that it disguises as harmless. Watching one more episode, delaying a workout, avoiding a difficult conversation, or postponing work can all seem insignificant in the moment. But these small choices accumulate. Comfort is rarely about one big decision. It is about repeated small decisions that slowly shape your habits. Over time, these habits define your level of productivity, discipline, and growth. Self-discipline requires awareness of these small moments. It is not just about major life decisions, but about the everyday choices that often go unnoticed. Waking up when your alarm rings instead of hitting snooze, starting work even when you don't feel ready, or choosing focus over distraction. These are the moments where discipline is built. Each time you choose discomfort over ease, you strengthen your ability to do it again in the future. Another important aspect is the relationship between comfort and potential. Comfort tends to keep you within familiar boundaries. It encourages you to stay where things feel predictable and safe. While this may feel stable, it also limits growth. Potential is only realized when you step beyond those boundaries. This means discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is often a sign that you are moving in the right direction. The more you understand this, the easier it becomes to embrace discomfort instead of avoiding it. Self-discipline also plays a key role in building momentum. At the beginning of any task or goal, resistance is usually highest. The mind offers many reasons to delay or avoid starting. However, once you begin, momentum starts to build. Action leads to more action. Discipline is what gets you past the initial resistance. It is the force that pushes you to start, even when everything in you wants to delay. Once you overcome that initial barrier, continuing becomes easier. Another important factor is emotional regulation. Comfort is often tied to emotional states. When you feel tired, stressed, or unmotivated, your natural inclination is to seek comfort as a form of relief. However, relying on comfort to manage emotions can become a habit that weakens discipline. Self-discipline involves learning to act despite emotional fluctuations. This does not mean ignoring emotions, but rather not allowing them to dictate behavior. You acknowledge how you feel, but you do not let that feeling determine your action. Over time, this creates emotional resilience. You become less dependent on external conditions to take action. Whether you feel motivated or not becomes less relevant because action is based on commitment, not emotion. This is a crucial shift because emotions are inconsistent, but goals require consistency. Discipline bridges this gap by providing structure when emotions are unstable. Another key element is identity. The choices you make in moments of comfort gradually shape how you see yourself. If you consistently choose comfort, you begin to identify as someone who avoids difficulty. If you consistently choose discipline, you begin to see yourself as someone who handles challenges. This identity reinforcement is powerful because it influences future behavior. Once you see yourself as disciplined, it becomes easier to act in alignment with that identity. Self-discipline also requires understanding delayed rewards. Comfort is often associated with immediate gratification, while discipline is linked to delayed outcomes. Choosing discipline means accepting that the benefits of your actions may not be visible immediately. For example, studying, exercising, or working on long-term goals may not produce instant results, but they create significant future rewards. The ability to prioritize delayed rewards over immediate comfort is one of the strongest predictors of long-term success. Another important aspect is resistance training. Just like physical muscles grow through resistance, mental discipline grows through repeated exposure to discomfort. Each time you resist comfort and choose action instead, you strengthen your mental resilience. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes easier. This is how discipline evolves. It is not a fixed trait, but a developed skill. Environment also plays a significant role. If your environment constantly encourages comfort and distraction, discipline becomes harder to maintain. On the other hand, an environment that supports focus, structure, and accountability makes it easier to choose discipline. This includes not only physical surroundings, but also digital environments, habits, and social influences. Being intentional about your environment reduces unnecessary resistance and helps reinforce disciplined behavior. Another important factor is clarity of purpose. Clarity of purpose. When you have a clear understanding of your goals, it becomes easier to resist comfort. Purpose provides direction and meaning, which strengthens discipline. Without clarity, comfort becomes more appealing because there's no strong reason to choose discomfort. But when you understand why your actions matter, you are more willing to endure short-term discomfort for long-term gain. Self-discipline also involves setting boundaries. Comfort often expands when boundaries are unclear. Without structure, it is easy to drift into habits that prioritize ease over progress. Setting boundaries around time, energy, and attention helps maintain discipline. These boundaries act as guidelines that protect your focus and prevent unnecessary distractions. Another important aspect is consistency. Discipline is not about occasional effort. It is about repeated behavior. Each time you choose discipline over comfort, you reinforce a pattern. Over time, this pattern becomes automatic. What once required effort becomes part of your routine. This is how discipline transforms from conscious effort into unconscious habit. Self-discipline also strengthens decision-making. When you are not controlled by comfort, you are able to make decisions based on logic, goals, and long-term thinking. This reduces impulsive behavior and increases intentional action. You begin to evaluate choices based on their impact rather than their immediate appeal. Another key element is patience. Choosing discipline often means accepting slower progress in exchange for sustainable results. Comfort offers quick relief, but discipline builds lasting change. This requires patience because the results of disciplined action are not always immediate. However, over time, they accumulate and create significant transformation. Self-discipline also influences confidence. Each time you overcome comfort, you prove to yourself that you are capable of doing difficult things. This builds trust in your abilities. Confidence grows not from avoiding difficulty, but from facing it repeatedly. The more you act with discipline, the stronger your belief in yourself becomes. Another important aspect is awareness of consequences. Comfort may feel good in the moment, but it often leads to long-term regret when it replaces meaningful action. Discipline may feel uncomfortable initially, but it leads to long-term satisfaction and progress. Being aware of these consequences helps you make better decisions in moments of temptation. Ultimately, self-discipline in the face of comfort is about choosing growth over ease, purpose over impulse, and long-term success over short-term relief. It is a continuous process of making decisions that align with your goals rather than your immediate feelings. Over time, this practice shapes not only your actions, but also your identity, creating a life that is built on intention rather than avoidance.